So Clive Palmer, finally proof he is the international man of mystery.
Incredible, because he's apologised to China in what is obviously a political stunt to get attention, and he's got it. And we noticed that he said he'd been to China in 1962 when he was 8 years old. Now, China was closed at the time. It was 10 years before Nixon and Whitlam went over to China. It was communist China. It was closed. It was difficult to get in there. Yet he claims he'd visited at the age of 8. Now, we were making some fun about that, and one of our listeners sent us in a copy of a story from a 1967 Woman's Weekly, which detailed the travels of the Palmer family and young Clive, who at that stage was 12 years old.
And it turns out he'd been across the equator 33 times by the time he was 12. When he was aged 4, he was such the experienced traveller. He was on a freighter, and he leapt out of a porthole and was holding onto a 3-inch ledge. The passengers were all freaked out by this, and they sent down 2 Chinese stewards to try and rescue him. And he turned around and said, "Leave me alone, you Chinese mongrels."
Yes,
well, I made up that last bit, but he did say, "Leave me alone."
Leave me alone. Yeah, of course.
Another international incident.
And then they say that the trip to China, when he was 8 years old, the family went to China. They got in there through delicate negotiations, went over on a freighter because there were you couldn't get there, you couldn't fly into China. And then there were 16mm film made of the Great Wall of China in colour, which they were able to get out of the country because they told the Chinese officials, well, this film here can't be processed here. We need to take it away and get it processed at home. So they took the film out. All of this detailed in this story from 1967, and we're just wondering, is it real, or is Clive Palmer the Forrest Gump of Australia? We just don't know.
Well, it's a little known fact actually that everyone's blamed Yoko Ono for the breakup of the Beatles over the years, but what not many people realise is Paul McCartney once confided that it was actually a relationship between Ringo Starr and a certain rotund gentleman from Australia called Clive Palmer. They became mates in the late 60s, used to go and get Chinese takeout every Friday night.
Quite extraordinary.
And that's what caused the split.
Just extraordinary. So we're continuing on our mission to find out exactly what Clive was up to in the 60s. We'll keep you posted, and if there's any other information, please send it to us.
Tomorrow, Clive of India. We're going to look into that.
Yes, exactly.